Hey guys, welcome to yet another live stream on Balloon Head Productions. I'm your host, as usual. My name is Marcelo Nostroza, and I'd like to welcome you to another review of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Season 2, Episode 3, entitled Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. As usual, though, I will not be joined all by my lonesome for this review. Once again, I'll be joined by my friend, PJ. Welcome to the stream, PJ.
Thank you, and thank you, and thank you for having me.
All right. So in this episode of Strange New Worlds, La'an, uh, she's basically doing her due diligence on the Enterprise, and then all of a sudden, as she's walking through a corridor, a time agent shows up who apparently has been shot by someone or something. La'an walks over to him to try and help him and to try and figure out who the hell he is. And he says, "Oh, you have to go back in time. If you don't go back in time, things that are meant to happen may not happen." So before she can get any concrete answers out of this guy, he disappears in a ball of light. But the ball of light changes La'an's reality. So once the guy disappears, she is in a reality where the captain of the Enterprise isn't Christopher Pike. It's James T. Kirk, and it's a reality where the Federation doesn't exist, and and all of society is basically fucked up. So La'an has to go on an adventure with a variant version of James T. Kirk to try and fix the timeline and put everything back together again. So, PJ, what did you think about this episode?
Well, oh god. Well, first of all, let's start from the start here. She's walking down the hallway. Isn't it coincidental? Maybe he went to her because of the connection with Khan. But see, right off the bat, he's immediately vague. The first words out of his mouth, I'm a time cop. My name is Jean-Claude. No, I'm a time cop, whatever. Toronto, this place on Dundas Street. Khan, go fix it, protect him, or like literally tell her exactly what he was trying to do right away. So dumb. Then it's one of those deals where, like in yesterday's Enterprise, where you see the time wave, and now she is the same, but she's in the alternate timeline that was created by whomever this time cop or temporal agent was trying to stop. I thought there's fun parts to it and some humor to be had, but overall it just seemed like just such a pointless episode. And this falling back again on Khan, it's as if they keep looking at Wrath of Khan over and over again, saying, "Well, this is the one they like the most, right? Well, let's just do this again. Let's just." And the whole Khan. I like Christina Chong, but this character of La'an Noonien Singh, who like 300 years ago, her great 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 grandfather was this tyrant. By the way, they changed the eugenics wars date. They moved it up about 30 years, or maybe more than 30 years, because in the original Star Trek canon, the eugenics wars took place between 1992 and 1996. Now, Akiva Goldsman has said, we got to change that because Star Trek is a reflection of our world. I agree with that. There are people out there who believe that the canon that was established in the 60s, like in the 90s, or the early 21st century, which we're catching up on, like apparently World War III is supposed to happen soon, which is not so far-fetched, but it's like, I agree with, if you have to go back to it, yes, move it up, because I'm not one of these people who believes that it's an alternate universe. Star Trek, some people have this idea that Star Trek is an alternate universe that has its own distinct history that should remain intact within the continuity. I'm more of the mind of Akiva Goldsman, where you do have to change it, but I wouldn't touch it. I wouldn't keep going back to it. So, like, if you had the 66 Star Trek reference things in the 80s or 90s or the early 2000s, well, don't bring it up in a prequel later on. Just forget about it. Because what you're going to do then is that you're going to have to change it because audiences are going to be like, well, the eugenics wars didn't happen in the 90s, of course. So the creator's like, well, we got to change it. I get it, but I think it's stupid to even go there in the first place because they've done Con to death with Into Darkness, and they did stuff in Enterprise in relation to eugenics wars, and now you have this entire character who, by the way, why didn't you change your name? Why would you carry the name Noonien Singh if you were so tortured and tormented over it? And how is she so genetically altered if generations upon generations of mating and having children with regular people, I suppose the dominant genes would carry on. But it's like this whole, a lot of things in this episode just seemed so pointless. And this whole idea of the Romulan spy, oh, what bad acting that. I'm so sorry for the actor who plays her, but it's such a badly played, awkward role. Oh God, go ahead, Marcel. I'm gonna get too negative here.
Yeah, listen, I agree with you in that, listen, the fact that they keep relying on Khan for Strange New Worlds and new Star Trek, as much as I love most of it, there are parts of new Star Trek that I do not like at all. And one of the things that I absolutely agree with you on, why in the holy fucking hell do you have to keep cherry picking things from the past, okay? If you want to do a Star Trek show in a certain time period, fine. But you know the way you don't piss off all the nerdy Star Trek fans who actually give a shit about canon? You know how you don't piss those people off? And you know how you don't fuck with the things that happened before?
Stop revisiting it.
Yeah, stop revisiting it and create new characters within the time period that you want to mess around in. If you create new characters that nobody's ever seen before, you won't step on any fucking things.
And the thing about Christina Chong and her character, I like the character.
Exactly.
But when it becomes about my Khan back in the day 300 years ago, and I'm still suffering from it, it's like, oh God, it's so frustrating. She could have been
She could have been
like an Illyrian, like number
Yes.
one, like you know what I mean, but not necessarily a descendant of Khan. It's just, I don't know. I'm just fundamentally against that. And here's what I think they don't understand about Wrath of Khan. They look at Wrath of Khan, and I think they've done with Into Darkness and other things, and they say, well, Khan is what made that movie, and Ricardo Montalban really is an essential part of that movie. But guess what? Guess who else is an essential part of that movie? William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy, and to a lesser extent, when I mean no disrespect, the other cast. But it's a Spock Kirk story. It's about getting old, and it's about facing mortality, and the whole thing with his son, meeting his son, and the first meeting with his son tries to kill him, and the Carol Marcus connection. All of that is what makes that film so good. And the exchange between Khan and Kirk, and they never meet, which is awesome, through the screen, and that battle is icing on the cake. So I think they look at it and say, well, Khan, just say Khan, do Khan, talk about Khan, and fans will eat it up and love it. And it's like, I don't think you understand. And you know what? Here's the thing. Fans on Twitter, I was looking, like, more people than anything were like, I love this. This is great. Love it. Oh, Khan. Oh, I feel so bad for La'an. It's like, okay. But Kirk, I don't mind Kirk. The guy who plays Kirk is fine. It's just within 4 episodes, I think, this is another Kirk episode of a Kirk that's not our Kirk. It's an alternate Kirk. So 2 alternate Kirks so far, which is their way of avoiding canon conflicts, I suppose. But
yeah, but
they're all over the place with it. Go ahead, sorry.
Here's the thing. You could have created a character like La'an and not given her the name Khan. You could have done the same exact thing, but with a different character that we've never heard of before. And if you do that, you won't, like I just said a second ago, However, I go, you will not fuck with canon and you will not piss anybody off. Now, listen, I sound like I'm pissed off, and I'm not.
You
I'm
sound
just,
happy.
yeah, I'm just so sick of Star Trek writers falling back on legacy characters to put in their fucking TV shows. If you want to write Star Trek and you don't and move the fucking show forward,
Uh,
don't rely on the past to be successful. Now, enough of
it's
me
not
complaining.
consistent though. Remember the last episode was like one of the best. It was
Yeah.
the best original.
Also-
and then like all of a sudden you get something that seems like it's made by completely different people.
Also, I want to be clear that first of all, I do not give, I do not give two squirts of piss. I'm not a guy who is, I don't live and die by canon. That can be explained by me loving the Kelvin timeline. But when the story is subpar, that's what pisses me off. And this story was subpar, and this story had it had impact on La'an, obviously. But in the grander scheme of things, this episode is probably going to mean very, very little in the grander scheme of this season so far. I really
On a positive
liked-
note, I do think
Right.
Christina Chung and Paul Wesley have good chemistry on screen.
Yes, yeah. I was
I was
just
almost
about to say-
frustrated that they didn't hook up. I'm like, come on, guys, what are you doing? None
Yeah,
of this
I
will
was-
matter in the end. And then he fucking dies. That was unexpected. How he's like, come on, do it. It's like, come on, go ahead, shoot me. Boom. Okay, I'm dead now. It's like, oh shit. That part was like, okay, that's interesting. But you know,
Yeah. No, yeah.
the
no, and
poutine
other-
stuff, eating poutine, walking around Toronto. I lived in Mississauga for 3 years, where they actually filmed the show, and this was 20 years ago, but I was a frequent visitor to Toronto, and to see, I haven't been there in 22 years, but to see it and see Star Trek characters walk through it, I love, just to try to be more positive, I love how when they get there, Kirk is like, is this New York? Because so many times Vancouver or Toronto doubles for New York or Chicago or whatever. But clearly in the wide shot, you see all the Canadianness. They show you, like, you see Dollarama in the thing, and you see the word Toronto in a couple of places, and she's like has to point that out to him. I'm like, and he's like, is it always this cold here? And she's like, we need to get some clothes or you'll freeze to death. I'm like, oh, that's kind of accurate. So little things like the playing of the chess and getting the money and seeing the Canadian. As a Canadian, it's like I did get some enjoyment out of it. But goddamn, when that woman, I forget her name, the photographer who ends up being the Romulan.
I don't know her name.
She's
either.
like, we use AI to figure out who to fuck with in the past to give us the. See, this is one of the things with time travel, and it worked back in the day because we weren't inundated with it. You know what I mean? Like, City on the End of Forever is so good because you had never really had anything like it, and you could poke holes in that all you want, but it's such a well told story. But this kind of stuff is like, when the plot is revealed, I kind of threw my hands up and said, well, this is all for naught because I don't give a shit about any of this. By the way, she's a Romulan spy, and she talks like a modern bubbly. I figured she would drop the facade and like speak more like a Romulan, because she doesn't have to reveal herself to La'an. La'an can't know what they look like, right? So I get that. But like when she's like, we used AI, and it's like, it's really kind of like, you don't sound like a villain at all. You just sound like an actor not saying the lines right. And then there's a fight, and then she goes in and she meets the little 12-year-old Khan. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, look. I mean, in that moment when La'an opened the door to the room and you see little Khan, I thought this really presented an interesting question, right? This whole episode presented an interesting question to me. As much as if I take aside the issues that I had with it, this episode presented a question: if you had the opportunity to kill Hitler, would you do it? And I really, really, really wanted Laan to kill that kid. Because number one, I was
Well,
like, you know
that's
what?
the killing of the kid is what causes the alternate timeline she ends up at the beginning of the episode,
Right.
where Kirk is like, I was born in he wasn't born in Iowa. I was born. That's why he doesn't know how to use a revolving door or know anything about Earth, but he seems to know what a hot dog is. Well, maybe he
Right,
doesn't know
right,
what a
right.
hot dog is because if he actually knew what a hot dog was, he wouldn't be eating it. And the funny thing is, why? Where's the scene where they were both running to the toilet for eating shitty Earth food from like, you know what I mean, like street hot dogs?
Yeah.
And oh god,
Yeah, look.
might as well lick the ground.
This, this episode was good because of the chemistry between Paul Wesley and Christina Chung is her name, right? I'm sorry, guys. I'm not good with actors.
Christina Chan, I think their chemistry saves the episode from being terrible,
Yeah. I
but
mean,
everything
look,
else in it just makes it bad and
it's
unfulfilling
not
and pointless.
to
She
me. To
Christina
me,
Chong is excellent, by the way, and so is the dude who plays Kirk. I have no objection to either one of those guys. And Palea's in it, and they have a Guinan thing where it's just like Guinan in season 2 of fucking Picard. It's like this seems like it's like it's deliberately recycled. Like,
yeah.
hey,
Well,
remember Guinan? They got to meet Guinan when they went back to 2024. Well, how about when these guys go back to 2023 or whenever it is, 2023, 2024, probably the same year. Let's do a thing with Palea because Palea is like a Guinan character that we can just
no, she didn't.
put in different
She didn't.
timelines.
Palea didn't have to be in this episode at all. La'an and Kirk could have found what they needed to
She didn't
find.
have to, but it
All
didn't
but
hurt.
no,
It
she didn't
didn't
have to
hurt.
be.
It didn't hurt.
No,
It did,
she
I just love Carol
because
Kane. By the way, can I
yeah, but
say something about Carol Kane? This is a
sure.
weird, fucking off kilter kind of comment, but I don't know why, but for years, I thought she was a cast member on SNL, and she's not. She wasn't.
Yeah.
It was the Mandela effect of like just assuming a thing for the longest time. You know who I got her confused with? Victoria Jackson, the girl from
Okay.
Twin Peaks, the blonde secretary. So I
Yeah.
used to get her and Carol Kane confused. Anyway, that's a stupid thing.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah. Listen. Like I said and PGS said, the chemistry between La'an and Kirk is good in this episode, but this episode had a lot of for why in it, and PG understands that reference.
yes,
I look. I don't feel that this episode was awful like PJ does. But this episode really showed me that I'm not saying that the Strange New Worlds writers aren't doing the best job they can. Okay? I'm not going to say that. But guys, if anybody from Strange New Worlds is listening to this right now, which is probably not, you guys have to do better with your storytelling because this gentleman, this is not acceptable. If you want to write Star Trek, you have to be a step above of what you're normally at in my mind.
yeah. Well,
And before anybody says, "Oh, Marcelo, what are you talking about? Why are you saying that?" Well, guess what, guys? I'm a writer, and I could sit here, look, and I'm not listen. I'm not guaranteeing you guys that what I would have come up with would have been better, but at least what I would have come up with would flow better and would make a little bit more sense.
yeah,
Then again, I wouldn't have done this episode to begin with in the first place.
yeah. I'm not even like I swear. I'm so sick of time travel. I'm not even against the story of or the concept of La'an has to go back in time with an alternate universe Kirk, which is like a combination of Yesterday's Enterprise and City on the Edge of Forever. Cool. And even like them walking around and talking and experiencing modern day is probably the best thing I got from the episode.
Yeah, that was good.
But that should be a small part of the goodness. For me, like okay, they're driving and they go to Palea and they get the watch. It's gonna glow and lead them to the place. and they find the place that way. None of that seems like it. It doesn't make a lot of sense even within the context of the story. I don't understand it. And the bridge, the bridge didn't blow up like that. So, is it our timeline, or is it like some fans think or believe or say that it's 100% concrete that Star Trek takes place in an alternate kind of universe where we share similar histories but not exactly the same. So therefore they could, within the universe, create events in our modern time like 2023, 2024, and it doesn't exactly have to line up, but Strange New Worlds has referenced very recent modern events, as we mentioned last time. So they're clearly saying this is our future, which I always thought it was a projection of like where we would go, because they reference real history in Star Trek. It's just that in '66 they weren't thinking about 1994 or 1996 of like how would contradict. Well, we better make sure we get it right. They're not thinking about like getting it right for '96. They're just creating a sci-fi story. And when 1994 comes, and that, or between 1992 and '96, when the eugenics wars happen and Khan like rules the world, they can worry about it then. They're not like, and I agree. Like if you're gonna go back, I just would leave it alone. Stop doing Khan. Stop talking about the eugenics wars, and stop saying like Earth got obliterated. Like I don't even like the concept that Star Trek has of like before we got better we were fucked. Like we destroyed ourselves. I actually generally hate the concept that any sci-fi has, even if we get better later on. I hate the fact that like we won't smarten up, or we won't get it. We're gonna fuck ourselves, and it seems very likely that we're doing that now, very slowly, and we seem collectively like we can't get our shit together to really solve the global problems that are gonna mount to probably some kind of either economic collapse or world war, or something really bad is going to come to a head, right? Like we can kind of feel that. But I don't like the idea we're all going to bomb each other and billions are going to die. I'm like, no, we're not that fucking we're not that bright collectively, but we're not that fucking stupid. Self-preservation would rule, you know what I mean? Like this whole idea that we're all going to blow each other up with nukes. It's never sat right with me.
Mm-hmm. I look. I don't have an issue with the with mutually shared destruction. But my issue with this episode of Star Trek and a lot of current Star Trek
I'll be right
is
back.
in
I have to get some
general.
water.
That's okay. Well, yeah. So as PJ gets a drink of water, my problem with this episode and grossly in season 1, not to backtrack us, but I'm trying to save time here. I really, really, really don't like. Again, I don't like the fact that the current writers of Star Trek feel the need, and this is the last time I'm going to say, people, to fall back on old characters to tell stories. For the love of God, please, 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 somebody, anybody who can hear me right now in the great universe, if you're going to make a Star Trek show, I don't care what time you say, I don't give a rat's ass what time you say it in, but do not use any legacy characters, or do not use characters connected to legacy characters. Make up your own goddamn characters, because the story is easier to tell that way.
Well, you know, Strange New Worlds is full of familiar characters like Pike. Oh. And well, now Pike's not so familiar because of just the pilot thing. But, Uhura's there. And,
again,
Benga was in the original series.
Yes, again.
And Chapel.
Yeah, I just want to... I just want to back up my rage there for a second. What PJ just said, look, everything I just said, I stand by, but there are exceptions to the rule, like PJ just pointed out. Mbanga, Pike, and Nurse Chapel because God knows I love
Well,
Nurse
most of all
Chapel.
Spock because he's the one we know the most, and now we're seeing like this kind of
Right.
immature, uh, he's still growing up kind of Spock. By the way, it was a real
Stilted.
stupid beginning in this episode where he's playing the lute, and it's like, hey, look, Spock with the lute, aren't you gonna cream over that? I'm like, no. And then the joke is, well, Spock, you're playing your lute and people are annoyed and you're a noise complaint. He's like, I'll try to be. I'm like, fuck off
Yes,
with this
you
shit.
don't no, but
For one thing, I don't
also
understand why in the future you don't have soundproof fucking rooms. Like seriously, what are crew members like getting it on and you just walk by, you can fucking hear everything? Like I don't know. Sorry. It's stupid. It's stupid, and it's played for. I know it's played for a laugh, but this is the kind
I
of
don't care.
approach in modern Trek where it's like it's it's loosey goosey and it's not really. I do like the some of the comedy works like with Pelia and the stolen paintings and all that, and she's a real abrasive character. And I like her. I like the fights. You know, she's training with Mbenga and Babs Olasumonkun is a MMA fighter, so he knows like showing off some of his skills. He did that in episode 1 too with the fights. You get little things from the cast in this episode. Uh, it's strange to me though, and I get why Pike was sidelined in the first episode. Totally get it. He's not really all that present in the second episode, and I feel what they're doing with him now. They're kind of like, let's do an ensemble thing and focus on different people. So
You know what they're doing?
the first one was very Mbenga Chapel centric.
You know what they're doing?
Oh,
I'll tell you what they're doing. Now I don't know this for a fact, but they're going to the school that Michael Pillar created because Michael Pillar, when he came on to TNG in season 3, what did he do? He really said, okay, this week we're going to do an episode about this person. Next week we're going to do an episode about that person. And the week after that we're going to do an episode about this person. And while we do that, other characters will play in occasionally, but for the most part, these will be standalone episodes about our principal characters. And I
yeah.
believe, I please people, whoever's watching this, do not take this for a fact, but I believe the writers of Strange New Worlds are taking that approach a little bit.
I don't understand why. Okay, I get going off and doing different stories with your main cast, but then you're bringing back this Kirk guy again. It's like,
Yeah, it doesn't.
why could
It
it worked? I can't argue that against the fact that their chemistry worked, and I kind of liked their little if they or will they or won't they kind of love thing.
yeah,
But
but here's the
why couldn't
thing.
she have gone back with one
Anybody.
of the main cast who are already in the show? Like,
Yeah, but why does James T. Kirk need to be here at all?
I think it'd been
Why in
mainly for
the
the love interest. They wanted to give her an someone who was not in
but
her crew that
but
she could want to hook up with or have a sexual tension with. And they thought, like, you know, this Paul Wesley guy,
okay.
fans liked him last time. Do you think there's? I don't know what they're doing with him because it's like this is Anson Mount's show. I don't mind if you sideline him to focus on other cast members in his crew. By the way, no spoilers for the next episode, but it is more Pike centric. Pike is in it much more than the last 3 episodes. Won't say what it's about. And the next one, after that, 5, no spoilers. I'm just saying what character it's centered on. 5 is Spock centered. And by the way, the first one was kind of like that too. Yes, the first one, I said Mbenga and Chapel. The first one was mainly Spock centered, with a focus more on Mbenga and Chapel. Second was Una and
When
her
there was
and the lawyer, Nira.
yeah.
And by the way, best guest star, best episode of Strange New Worlds. And then you get this. I've never been so frustrated by it. I think this might be my least favorite. It went from best to least favorite
No,
because
I mean,
I was seriously frustrated. But you know what? I couldn't help. I was like, come on, enjoy seeing Toronto and seeing these characters walk around Toronto and doing their thing. And by the way, he
No,
must have won a lot of money in that chess stuff because they got a hotel room which ain't cheap. It's like crazy.
yeah, look,
They go to
I
Vermont. Where are they getting all the money to go to Vermont with all the taxis and fuck? Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
I that's okay. I have clear issues with this episode, but they are lingering issues that I've had with the show in general going back to season 1. But if I clear my brain out and if I shut off my brain, this episode is fun for the La'an and Kirk stuff again, but largely this episode didn't have to happen. And you didn't have to have it again. I completely agree with PJ. Why bring another version? Why bring another alternate version of James T. Kirk back? Why not give it to another member of our main cast? Why do you, just why do Kirk at all? I listen. If I get a chance to meet any writer from Stranger World ever in my life, one of the first things I'm going to ask them, why in the world did you guys bring on a version of James T. Kirk? Because didn't you guys realize,
You know
by
what
you
they were?
doing that? Hold up, by you bringing on James T. Kirk, you guys must have been aware that you were going to create problems for yourself. So why do that? Is it because you guys couldn't think of anything better to do?
I don't know if there's been interviews or if somebody's been asked or it was on the Ready Room or anything. But if you were to ask, I think they might, and I'm just speculating, might say, we wanted to give her a love interest that was outside of her crew.
But
Because
why does it have to be Kirk? It could have been anybody.
besides Kirk, try to pair her romantically with any of the main cast. I can't. I can even see Mbenga and Chapel, but they're very close friends, so you can kind of, the lines are kind of blurred there, and like how close and how intimate they could be without being lovers, I suppose. They're definitely going to go the Spock Chapel route there.
Oh yeah,
But-
I'm excited for that.
But I can't argue against the fact that it was a good pairing.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, are they setting up Paul Wesley for a spin-off or something? That's what I'm like. It's like, let's bring back Paul Wesley again. By the way, I don't know this for a fact, but I've been told he's may show up again in the season.
For
This
God, why?
this time, and I don't know. I have no idea. Hopefully, if we do see him again in this season, we finally get to see the quote unquote, put it in quotes, obviously, the prime Kirk, meaning not Quality of Mercy alternate timeline or Tomorrow's Tomorrow and blah blah blah, that timeline.
If you guys want, when I say you guys, I'm talking to the Stranger Worlds writers now because I'm seriously getting pissed off. Now I'm actually pissed. If you guys wanted to do James T. Kirk, fine. But here's how you do it. Ready? I'm going to teach you. At the very, very last episode of Stranger Worlds, introduce James T. Kirk as Paul Wesley or whoever the fuck else you wanted to get. But why, for the love of fucking Christ, did you think this was a good idea? God damn it! I knew this discussion was going to piss me off. Ugh.
That being said, it's one of the better ideas in the episode. Sad to say. I mean,
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
but thank goodness, because think about this: if Christina Chung and it was another actor or another character or something, and like the chemistry didn't work, it would have been a really, really boring episode. Then again, this is a different kind of Kirk altogether, who acts kind of like the traditional Kirk. So it's kind of strange that they didn't make the choice to make him different, because he didn't grow up on Earth. By the way, the whole concept of an alternate timeline, right? Isn't it funny how the exact same people are born at the exact same time, and their siblings are also, and their the parents get together and blah 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 in a
Should things
completely
be
alternate timeline. this is the thing about it. It's the Back to the Future syndrome where Marty McFly changes the past in 1955, but somehow his parents are able to conceive the exact same genetic children. Do you get what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, it's a paradox.
if my parents didn't conceive me at the exact time and the exact set of circumstances, I would look and sound like a completely different person. You know what I'm saying? Like it's
Yeah.
like if I had 5 brothers and sisters, which rarely happens now, and I messed with my parents' lives, I wouldn't probably even be born. I'd be like fading like in the Johnny Be Good sequence. But anyway, I digress.
Yeah. Listen, guys. Again, for the last time, I thought this was a good episode for the most part, but a lot of things that I did not like about Star Trek, this new Star Trek, and the way that
Wait, so is
these
it a good or is it a bad episode in your mind?
it's a it's a it's a good episode. I wouldn't go as far as calling it bad because I did like the chemistry between La'an and alternate Kirk. But like you pointed out, this episode is a big bag of nothing.
What did you feel about? Okay, I do like the whole thing. I hate the Romulan spy girl. Like I don't know what was going on. It just ruined that whole end.
She was
And then
she
she's
was
like,
fine.
I want to shoot Khan, and it's like, oh god, oh gosh, this is what the guy who got shot couldn't prevent. And what's with these temporal agents? Shouldn't they wear like I don't know, bulletproof or bullet deflecting or bullet dissolving armor or something? You'd think temporal agents would have kind of like
Safety
physical,
precautions.
physical protection against projectiles, for fuck's sake. But yeah, but aside from all that, the way the actors played is really quite good, except for that Romulan spy. For example, when Kirk gets shot, and the look of shock and like, oh fuck, she just really did that. Like she called his bluff, and he's like, "Oh, I'm fucked now." Like it was played so well, and La'an's reaction,
It's
just
great.
like, "Oh, I just started getting a boner for you, and now you're dying." But you know,
No, but no,
lady
but
boner,
seriously,
lady boner.
yeah. But seriously, she started getting her Peter tingle. Fucking Christ.
But seriously, when she can't sleep, and she walks into the room, she's like, "I need it." That's what she's thinking. She's like, "I need it." And Kirk is like, not asleep. He knows, like,
No,
oh my
no, he
gosh,
knows.
she's walking in, and he's like, is she gonna come and sit on it? Or like, what's she gonna do? But then,
Oh my God.
but I was like, and they do kiss, and I like I like Bud and all that shit. Like, oh, they kiss finally. They're good together. If Paul Wesley and Christina Chong were a real life couple, I'd be like, yeah, that's a good looking couple there.
Yeah. No, but actually, Paul Wesley is in a relationship with his co-star from Tell Me a Story.
Fiddlesticks.
Yeah, Fiddlesticks.
No, he's good. I have no objection to him.
Yeah.
I just don't want them to do a redo of TOS. I don't
No, they're
mind.
not. No,
If-
they're if they
You could do
listen,
you could do a limited series with Kirk, separate thing, Farragut, right before he gets kind of like The Walking Dead had a spin-off, right? Called Fear the Walking Dead. This is a good example of what I mean with messing with time, not time travel, but what Fear the Walking Dead did was go before the events of what The Walking Dead was currently doing. So they went back to the very beginning when people started turning, which Walking Dead kind of skipped over. And then what happened was The Walking Dead, or the Fear of the Walking Dead, caught up with the timeline of the regular show. So there could be crossover. So what you could do is you could do a mini-series. Now I'm just saying they will ever do. They won't have the money to do this, by the way. Paramount will be shut down soon. in terms of their
No, but
streaming.
isn't
I mean,
isn't
not the company, their streaming service.
yeah isn't but isn't The Walking Dead AMC?
Eh, no, no, I was using Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead as an example of how you can, like, with a Strange New World spin-off with Kirk.
Okay.
You could start with him, like, starting on the Farragut. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
like, if you
could.
did a series, it could catch up with Strange New Worlds. By the time Strange New Worlds ends, you know what I mean? It's then Kirk being promoted to Captain of the Enterprise on his
And there
show.
you go.
That's the end of his show as well, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I think they're setting up. They want if they can't logistically do it. I mean, like from a producing point of view, and a financial point of view, they're definitely planting the seed of, hey, this Paul Wesley guy could probably do a Kirk show if you want one, or a miniseries if you really. But for all we know, there could be 3 Star Trek shows canceled in the next year.
Yeah, look. Again, I'm gonna say it for our last time, and then we're gonna say goodbye. I thought this episode was good, but it had so much more potential to it that officially wasn't, unfortunately, wasn't reached.
It's a goddamn travesty, is what it is.
God damn it. No, and here's the thing. When I watched this episode, I didn't hate it. I just watched it and I was like, okay, this is good. I had to come on here and talk about it to realize all the holes in it. So then,
I like hate it. I like and I hate it. I like and I hate it.
There you go.
That's
There
what
you go. There you go.
That's what it seems like you like. You're like, okay. The charming elements of it do work. It's just the case or the shell that it's in is just not feasible.
Broken.
It's broken. Yeah.
So I'm gonna take PJ's word. I like hate it. That's it. I like hate it. But as we say goodbye now, PJ, if the good folks at home want to catch up with you and your adventures online, what will be the best place for them to do so?
I'm on a place called the internet. Find me. There you go.
Okay, that's very ominous. But again,
All
I
the
would like to
information's right there on the screen.
Yes, it is. It's right there. But again, I would like to thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
All right, guys. So I hope you enjoyed my review of this episode, and I hope you didn't throw shit at the screen if you actually liked this episode. But if you want to, in the comments below, tell me what you liked about this episode, or tell me what you didn't like about this episode. But until next time, as always, I'll see you when I see you.
So much happened here, and so much is about to.